Yeah, as Owen mentioned there, obviously very passionate personally about sales coaching. Work for a company whose technology is all geared around this topic. But yet still, I see six really key big sins that people still make when it comes to coaching their salespeople, and keen to kind of dig into each one of those. And maybe some of you in the audience will be watching this and kind of thinking, that's me. So before we do that, let's just quickly start with why coach your sales reps. I think that the data really speaks for itself. Companies with a dynamic coaching program just simply achieve considerably higher win rates than those that don't. Quite simply, coaching works. It's one of the biggest one of the biggest levers you can pull to generating better results in your team today. We actually did our own research here at Allego into what do the salespeople think about coaching, and actually the majority of salespeople say that coaching is not just it's a good thing. They said it's either very important or critical to helping them succeed. Your salespeople are telling you that sales coaching is a necessity. Interestingly, some of you guys on this, I'm sure, use maybe various tools to record and capture sales calls. Those who do typically get better results when it comes to coaching than those who don't. So the whole world of recording meetings and calls for coaching is the data backs it up to say that it's a really valuable activity to do. But here's the worrying statistic: is that 75% of SaaS sales reps believe that they do not receive adequate or useful coaching from their manager. Some sales managers or leaders on here may kind of see that and may feel shocked that there's a good chance that your salespeople simply feel that what you give them today from a coaching perspective just isn't meeting their expectations. And I'm keen to kind of dive into some of the reasons maybe why they feel that way. So let's just jump into coaching sin number one. Many people might be seeing this image and think, yeah, that's been me before. Has anyone been in this similar situation to the image shown on screen where you're being made to sit back to back with a colleague in order to role play a sales call? Let me ask you this question if you have. When on earth did you last have a sales call with a real prospect sat in a room sitting back to back with them? It doesn't happen, right? And contrary to popular belief, most salespeople don't actually hate role play. They don't hate practicing. And a little tip there is just start swapping the word role play for practice, and it automatically just sounds more appealing. No, most salespeople just simply hate bad practice. They don't hate practice, and they hate bad practice. So many companies try to execute practice sessions, but get it wrong straight out the gate. They make it feel completely unnatural. They get their salespeople to sit back to back with each other. They practice cold calls and kind of do this in the office face to face. When do you ever cold call a prospect face to face? They invent like fake scenarios that simply just don't ever happen when they practice things like discovery calls, and they use fake language as a prospect. They make their practice sessions too easy. They make their practice sessions too hard. When your practice sessions feel fake, your practice sessions will falter. So if you want to make your practice sessions feel real, then base the practice sessions on real scenarios. A little tip here is what I sometimes do is I listen to a sales call that one of my salespeople has been involved in, and I basically reenact that same call with a different person on the team. So I literally say the same things the prospect said in the call and actually use that with another person on my team. It makes it feel so much more real. Crucially, if you're going to role play cold calls, make sure you do this on the actual telephone, or at the very least, do it on Zoom with your cameras switched off. And if you're going to role play discovery calls or demos, do this on Zoom or Teams. Don't just stand face to face with each other in an office and do this. It just doesn't feel realistic. Secondly, practice is often undynamic. What I mean by this is that some people will role play an entire 30-minute long conversation out and then decide to debrief and break the whole thing down afterwards. They end up delivering highly generic feedback and ask questions such as, how did you find that entire call? People can't remember what they did 5 minutes into the role play. They can't remember what they missed or how they responded. Make your practice sessions dynamic by breaking the call down into chunks. Even practice the first 5 minutes of a discovery call. If something doesn't go well in the first 5 minutes, go back and practice again. Think of it like learning to play an instrument. You're practicing specific chords or segments of songs. If you muck up a piece of the song, you go back and try playing the note again. Think of sales practice like that. And thirdly, practice is typically inconsistent. Which sports person practices once a week and then practice again 1 month later? It doesn't happen. They practice regularly. Practice should at least be a weekly thing. So ultimately, if your practice is looking like this, your salespeople won't see the practice as valuable. When you make practice valuable, your salespeople will ask you to do more of it. That's when you know that you're on the right tracks. Okay, sin number 2. It makes my heart sink when I see someone using our product. They're reviewing a call, and I see this, a screen full of feedback from the manager. In some cases, like 30 pieces of feedback on one call, or 7 pieces of feedback in like a 5-minute segment of the call. It's literally information overload. It lacks any level of importance or prioritization. And ultimately, it ends up being totally confusing for the salesperson. It actually has an adverse effect. If you are leveraging conversation intelligence technology like Allego today, try and keep it down to 5 pieces of feedback per call. Identify maybe the 3 parts of the call where there needs to be most improvement and just focus on those 3 parts, and maybe 2 parts of the call to reinforce great behavior, or simply chop the call into little sections. For example, the call opening, or the start of the demo, for example, and just provide feedback on one of those sections at a time. Don't overwhelm your sales rep. Coaching sin number 3, being the hero. Can you imagine at Wimbledon this week, Cameron Norrie's coach walking down from the stands onto centre court, grabbing the racket off him and just playing the match for him? It wouldn't happen. Yet still, this is what is happening. It's one of the biggest sins of sales coaching that still exists today. Here's the setting the scene. You invite yourself to your sales reps meeting. You've had the conversation beforehand that you're there to simply support them and for coaching purposes, but that you're going to let them take the lead. You say, "Hey, I want you to take the lead on this. This is your meeting." The meeting starts, the small talk gets out the way, the salesperson's kind of run the start of the meeting. And what happens, the sales manager sits and squirms, and suddenly, as soon as the prospect asks the first question, they can't help themselves. They know how to deal with the situation. They know they can do this better than the salesperson. They know that they can save the deal. Before you know it, your salesperson has been shoved to the side. You're in the driving seat, and it's suddenly your sales meeting. You're being the hero. The meeting finishes, you've got a big smile on your face as the sales leader because the meeting went really well. But guess what? Your salesperson didn't learn anything at all. You didn't let them take center stage. You weren't there as a support mechanism. You ended up taking control. What's worse is you have nothing to coach your sales rep on, as it was you who did all the talking. One of the best things about the pandemic, and that so much of sales has happened online and with things like recording calls, is the death of the ride along, where this happens all too frequently. Managers go into meetings, managers turning into heroes, managers taking over sales meetings. We need to basically put this right. If you need to join your reps' calls, do so, but simply be there to add value when you feel it necessary. But do not be the hero. Sin number 4, snapshot decisions without data. Here's what happens. Salesperson listens to a call from a sales rep and says at the end of the call, "John, you simply talk too much in your sales calls." The reality is, however, is this. John doesn't talk too much in his sales calls. He may have talked too much in that one sales call, but on average, John actually talks and listens far less than the average in the team. When you make these kind of snapshot, reactive decisions and bits of feedback to your sales reps, you run the risk of actually pissing them off. You give your reactions emotionally without data, without backed up by reality. You're just damaging the relationship that exists between yourself and the salesperson. It actually makes them less receptive to any coaching that you do moving forward. Base your coaching, your feedback based on real data versus just anecdotes or what you simply saw in a one-off instance. Okay, sin number 5, being a preacher. Salespeople hate being preached to. This is not how you coach people. If you find yourself using these danger phrases, you need to become more self-aware. What I would have done is, or what you should have done there is, or how I usually do this, again, being the hero, the best way of doing this is, I'm not saying to eliminate these phrases completely from your vocabulary, but if you find that your coaching conversations are full of these phrases, then you're going wrong. You want to be getting the salesperson to tell you what they think they could have done differently at certain parts of a conversation. You want to be playing back segments of calls, discovery calls, and asking the salesperson, what did you miss there that you picked up on second time round? Salespeople want to, they have their own inner critic. They're more likely to react and to change when they listen to their own inner critic versus you just preaching at them and telling them what you would have done differently. Okay, and then finally, sin number 6, doing it all yourself. We know the reasons why coaching doesn't happen as much as it should do. Managers tell us that they don't have much time, that they're busy, they've got growing teams. And that is absolutely true. I can speak from experience on that. But the problem is that you're not solving the problem. You're still trying to do all of the coaching yourself, when actually there's so many other solutions to solving this problem, to not make it just be you who has to coach. For example, one of the things that we've just launched at Allego here is coaching on demand. I want you to imagine that your salesperson could literally click a button at the end of one of their calls, and that call gets sent to an expert coach outside of the business who will actually coach the call on your behalf, on your salesperson's behalf. It removes the pressure from your shoulders. It gives an external perspective. But it's literally, hey, I've had a call. I'm not sure if I did anything bad or good on that call, but I'd love to get some feedback. Boom, one click, the call gets sent to an external coach to help you. Secondly, we really encourage people to do group coaching sessions. It doesn't always have to be one-on-one. You would have seen a lot of my team post that we do these weekly coaching sessions online where we're breaking down calls as a collective, where we're involving everybody in that coaching exercise, not just the person involved in the call. And then finally, we get people to record and practice their pitches ahead of time, how they would position a certain part of our product, what they would say to a certain customer. And you can see here that we actually have colleagues that will jump on and do peer-to-peer feedback. People will give multiple suggestions. A lot of the coaching can come within your team. It doesn't have to come from yourself. Thanks for sitting through this. Hope that was helpful. Obviously, check us out if you want to find out more about Allego and how we can help with this. If you scan the little QR code, that will actually give you access to our SaaS sales coaching blueprint, which will help you get this right in your business. And obviously, connect with me on LinkedIn in the meantime. Thanks very much, James, and all those watching.